When I was at the USPTO, there was very little we could do as far as automating the PCT, because at WIPO, the World Intellectual Property Organization, they were controlling the electronic environment. So it wasn't until I was able to get to WIPO that I was able to do things that then could benefit the US Patent and Trademark Office PCT operation, and that helped it enormously.
That's where the changes happen. I know amongst patent attorneys, I always find that patent attorneys themselves are very conservative people. When I'm trying to introduce new technologies, they take a long time, even though the day job is examining the latest invention. So I'm pleased that the USPTO actually took on some of your advice on the automation side.
Well, that's one of the reasons it took so long for the PCT uptake at the USPTO, is because of the conservative nature of the patent profession. You know, the PCT, even though it was negotiated in 1970, it wasn't until 1978 that it actually came into effect, because that's how long it took. There were a certain number of countries and certain countries that had to be part of the PCT system. And it took them 8 years in order for them to get their laws enacted and their procedures in place. So 8 years later, and just about the time that the EPO was getting going, the PCT was starting. So I just remember on day one, and I think it was July of 1978, I'm sitting here being trained by one of the legal attorneys working in the PCT office. And all of a sudden he goes rushing out, and he comes rushing back in, and he says, "Well, we just got our first PCT filing." You know? Well, it was Caterpillar was the first filer in the US. So, you know, it took a long time. And then it took a long time for it to start building up, because as you probably know, the early stages of the PCT, there were a lot of issues that could trip up an applicant. And it wasn't until later, and we'll get to that later maybe, that the PCT was simplified and made more user-friendly so that applicants could, you know, file with confidence and what have you. When that happened, then the growth rate really accelerated.